Thank you, John. Well, welcome everybody to tonight's Pathway to Abundance. We're super excited. First of all, it's going to be me and Sue Gronberg, and I think we're going to hear a little bit from Dawn. One of the things we want to do is we just want to do a huge shout out to all of you, everyone in the GIA field who are posting testimonials, everyone who was on last week on the GIA Wellness Pathway to Abundance testimonial call. We really have a rich resource in our stories. That's really what is going to, I know John Williams was involved with a company that became a multi-billion-dollar company. Linda Cormier was part of that company too. And they really became that when they stopped talking about science and they just started sharing exciting stories. So what we want, first of all, is I know that John's got some more testimonial calls planned. What we really want to do is talk about tonight about how to do short, impactful, great testimonials. So, and really the important, build your repertoire of short, impactful stories. Over the years that I've been involved with GIA and the Gronbergs as well, we've just collected, we've listened to, really the word pictures and the stories that people have shared. And I've even said, because I've told many of Terry Belasca's testimonials, and I say, Terry, you've made me so much money in GIA Wellness and you've influenced so many people because I share your stories all the time. So with that, I want to find out if Sue or Dawn, did you have any kind of notes you wanted to say this before we kind of move to our first slide about the importance of really building your repertoire of short, impactful stories and how to do a testimonial?
Sue, you need to unmute, love.
Yep. Sue, let me see. I wonder if I have to unmute you. Let me just see. Let me try here. Sue Gronberg is unmuted. Sue, are you there? Huh. Sue we've got Sue Gronberg's screen. Sue, can we hear from you? Okay. I think it looks like she's doing something online. She's going to pull up the next slide. So while Sue, are you there? Okay. Well, maybe what I will do, Sue, do you want to go to the next slide? Is that possible? And then when you can unmute, definitely join.
I'm here.
Yay!
Can you hear me? Okay.
I can now.
Okay, now what I need to do is get rid of you. Sorry. And here we go. Come on.
So, and while you're doing that, I'm just going to talk a little bit more about the testimonials. One of the things we want to do, and we've got plans to do more testimonial calls in the future, more testimonial Zooms. What we want to be able to do is fit more stories in so that we all can collect these stories. And really the key thing is that we want to, in painting the word picture, the story, we want people to really take away the highlights. And in order to do that, there's always a sequence, and that's what we're going to talk a little bit about, really about how to make an impact. Sue, do you want to share a couple things?
Well, I do, and I just want to say one, when I couldn't say that before because I was muted, that what I have found is that stories are so powerful because they're relatable to people in their daily lives, and they either have something like it have happened to them or they know someone, and that's where you want to help strike feelings within and make it feel very relatable to the people who are hearing the story. So from that point, I guess Ming, just said it's really important to paint a word picture and where you were, and go on from there, Ming. Well, sounds like you want to interject something. Go ahead.
I did. Well, I'm wondering if Don's available. Is he available or is he out shoveling snow?
He's not in the room right here,
Okay,
so
that's fine.
I can't have him help you.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give his testimonial as an example. I don't think many of you have heard it. And what I love about it is it's something that I can always remember, and it's really short. And he says, I was a landscape contractor who worked long days in Wyoming. I drank, tons of water, and I couldn't get hydrated. My skin was constantly dry, and my skin in my hands was cracking, and it would actually crack so that it would bleed. And I'm a drummer, a conga drummer, and a musician. And so I was living in pain and discomfort. So what he's done, the first part of that is he's literally painted a picture of what it was like before, what it was like before he was introduced to the water. I was introduced to the eye water, or we came on board. I had great results with the guard removing or eliminating the discomfort from my headaches. But when we tried the water and I started drinking the water, I literally, my skin became soft, my hands became soft, no more cracking. So what an incredible experience. And now I know the power of drinking water that's in single file alignment or energetically enhanced, and how important it is. And now I want to share this with the world. So something short like that, I think everybody gets the big visual. So that's one example. So here, there are really basically 4 key components to your short testimonial. Number 1 is its highest impact when you keep it short. 1 to maybe 2.5 minutes max. If you can do it even in a minute, then you can deliver. For example, we do a lot of booths. We do a lot of, think about people at networking events. You really need to make it short to be able to build it to the crescendo and be able to do that. So keeping it short, 1 minute to 2.5. It's nice also when you develop your testimonial to be able to do the maybe 45-second to 1 minute version. And then you could, if you've got a longer time, you could develop it to the 3 to 4 minute if you're doing perhaps a talk to a group or something like that. So number 1 is keeping it short. Number 2 is you want to paint a picture in words of where you were and the discomfort you felt. So when Don Gronberg talks about being a landscape contractor who couldn't get hydrated, and his skin, he was pounding water and constantly thirsty, when his skin was cracking and his hands were bleeding, you get the picture, and you understand how he feels. What happened that made it better? Well, Don Gronberg was introduced to Geo Wellness, and he started drinking the eye water. And what happened was literally he felt hydrated. He didn't have to pound as much water, and his cracked hands went away, and he had softer, more supple hands. So that's what happened. And how he feels now is really the 4th component. Is now, what generally he shares is, look, we used to have brick and mortar business. I was a landscape contractor. It was brutally beating up my body. I was affected by the downturn in the economy. And now I found a way, my wife and I can literally live the lifestyle that we want to live with the flexibility and freedom that really suits me as a musician, and share something this important with the world. So that's kind of it. Sue, did you want to share anything about that?
Well, I think you really nailed it as to taking that and all the pieces, parts, and putting it all together. And I love it when Don shares his testimonial, because it is impactful. And if you like, I'll give you another example. And
Great.
So I don't know of anyone out there who, you have a time when you need to be at your very best and looking great, and then suddenly get surprised by an injury that could interfere with looking your best. Well, I'm going to tell you, early in the morning while we were doing our expo at the Integrative Healthcare Symposium, early in the morning at the hotel, I was getting ready and dressed to go to our exhibitor's booth. And this is one of the biggest events of the year. We were feeling super great, and I thought I would do a quick press on a blouse of mine. And I reached into the closet to move the ironing board, and like lightning, the iron that was on the shelf above me came flying off the shelf and hit me dead center in the middle of my forehead. And I was actually quite stunned. And I knew I could be in for a real gnarly, bruised golf ball sized bump on my head. So I immediately went to my stash of my little smart strip circles, stuck it on my forehead, and left it there for about 45 minutes while I finished getting dressed. And what happened was absolutely amazing. When I peeled the smart strip off, first of all, the swelling was hardly there at all. The bruising was starting to show, but it was hardly anything. And the discomfort was minimized so that you could hardly see the injury under a tiny bit of makeup. And by that night, the discoloration was nearly gone, and the injury was just slightly tender to the touch. And I will say that the smart strips have become a constant companion with me when I travel. For that reason, I am so glad I had it with me, and I can't wait to share those stories and offer the power of the smart strips to anyone. It's just really made a huge believer of me in the ERT. So lucky me. I'll sing the praises of smart strips forever.
Well, thank you, Sue. I think everybody heard it. We got the elements. She kept it short. She painted that picture. We can see this iron falling off the shelf. We can see her seeing stars and describing the bruising and what she did, and then what happened within about a 45-minute period. One of the things, and Sue was really careful, and this is something that is really important, and John Williams asked me to remind everyone, for our testimonials to really pass muster, we need to avoid medical terminology. And the reason that is because when we're in a closed group or very, very private, we can talk about certain ailments and diagnoses. But out in the world, I will just share with you that a Federal Trade Commission is literally trolling the internet to find where companies are making claims. So when we as representatives or distributors of GeoWellness sound like we're making a claim, whether it's on Facebook, in wherever, it can be construed, it could be taken back to connected with GeoWellness making a claim. So I think John Williams is really very, very diligent about that, and I would like us all to be very careful. So if we have something like plantar fasciitis, we can talk about a real discomfort or a problem in our foot. We might have psoriasis, so we can talk about a skin issue where we have, thickening of the skin or these lesions. Whatever those things are, we want to avoid a word called pain, and we want to use the word discomfort, because companies can get in trouble for making claims to eliminate pain. So that's just my my little sort of essay on that right now. Sue, did you have anything else you wanted to say about that?
I also want to say we need to avoid the word cure.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. Just make an impact. Back to you.
So make an impact. Do we want to go to the next slide?
Sure.
We kept our PowerPoint short for you guys too tonight. Okay. And Carol Gutierrez, here's an answer to your little chat. So where do we want to put our testimonials? Where do we want to share them? We want to share them, on Pathway to Abundance calls. We want to do that so that John actually could have them. He's going to edit some of these calls. He's going to even be able to extract some of these. We're going to be able to put in other places. We want to post them on the Gia Good News 360 and on Facebook, on our own 360 Facebook pages, on other areas where they're relevant, or other Facebook pages where relevant. We want to post them on, or we want to give them on Zoom events, at live events, on three-way calls, anywhere, at booths, anywhere we're really sharing, networking, wherever it is that we are sharing Gia Wellness is where we want to be able to tell these stories. And of course, right now tonight, we've just talked a little bit about specific product testimonials related to issues, but same thing with our income testimonials, the same type of thing. Mine, for example, I was a stay-at-home mom for 17 years. I didn't think I was ever going to have to work. And what happened was the economy. The economy took a turn at a time when my family was 95% invested in appreciation real estate. It wasn't even cash flow. So it was at that time I was introduced to Gia Wellness, and somewhere in the back of my mind, I must have known that what was coming down the pike was that I was going to need to create an income. Well, I'm a freedom lover, and I like my lifestyle, and I like to really know, I like flexibility in my life. Well, it was absolutely amazing. In my first 90 days in Gia Wellness, with the excitement of the results that I was having with my family and really knowing that this was an incredible solution for folks, I was able to create $10,000. And what I realized is that this was, my husband even said to me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I've never done anything more fun." And that was the beginning of my Gia career. And that was the beginning of my Gia career. And what I saw was a way that I could be able to stay home, be able to attend my kids' games and whatever I wanted to do, and create an income that was going to be viable, and a way that I could show three daughters how mom could create financial freedom for a family working from home. So that's one of my testimonials that I give for financial stuff. Another one, very short, is, it took me a couple years. I built a six-figure income, and then the carpet was pulled out from underneath me. When the market crashed and we were in real estate, heavily in real estate, we lost a huge amount. Well, what was amazing was at that time, my life was in crisis. I was losing my marriage as well as a lot of land holdings. Well, guess what? I had created a six-figure income with Gia Wellness. And for that year and a half where I was really scarcely able to work at all, I was actually getting Gia checks. My team was performing. And in a year, in 2012, when I worked, I say, about 3 hours per week, my 1099 at the end of the year was over $65,000. And I realized I was making about $500 per hour. And what I say is I couldn't have been doing anything legal for $500 an hour. So that's my, and now what I want to do is, now I know that this industry really works. And so I'm absolutely dedicated to helping others do the same thing. So that's that testimonial for me. Sue, did you want to share anything about, anything more about testimonials before we
Nope. I
open up
think
and
time-wise, I think we're on target. So I think we can go from there.
Okay. Well, I'm okay with opening it up. I was going to have to jump because my daughter is taking driver's ed and I have to pick her up, but my husband's on his way to pick her up, so I'm good. So do we want to open up and have people ask questions or talk a little bit?
Sure. Open the lines.
Hey guys, we can just unmute ourselves if we need to, rather than opening up all the lines, if you like, Ming.
What was that?
Yeah, if people want to share, they can unmute themselves, because if you unmute everybody, there'll be a lot of background noise. But I'd like to offer something as well to this. Is I find it's worth practicing your testimonial with a timer. Set it for 2.5 minutes, and if it goes off and you're still talking, we need to look at reducing that down perhaps. So, I've used that method myself, and it really is made a huge difference. So great job tonight, ladies. I think it's wonderful. I think it's great that you really brought to our attention about keeping it down to 1 minute to 2.5, even when we're on the Zooms, like when Alfred did last Wednesday, for example. And I'm not sure if you'll be mentioning, but just a reminder that he is going to, there is a replay of that this coming Wednesday, my friends. But yeah, so use a timer. We all have our phones that have the timer buttons on it. Set it for 2.5 minutes. Start telling your story. And if the buzzer goes off, you need to reassess a few things.
Well, I think, Sue, can I just comment on that?
Yeah, and I also have a comment as well.
Okay,
Go ahead.
good. Sue, do you want to go ahead?
Well, yeah, I guess I want to say one of the other things that you can do is not only practice it, but everybody has the capability, most people do, is to record on their phones. And you can listen to yourself, which is really kind of a good way to go as well. And I had another thing, but I think maybe you want to say what you need to, so it would be more from
I did. I will. What I love to say is, at GEO, we so much are come as you are, and, learning to accept ourselves and love ourselves and know our worthiness and transform in the ways, with personal development. One of the things I found is that, that little bit of discipline, that little bit of rub really makes us more professional. And it also increases our impact, which is really what we want. We want to live lives of impact, and sometimes putting ourselves under the constraint of time and making sure that what we do is cover those top things in that order, really knowing that sometimes less is more. And I think, Sue Johnson, what you shared about practicing, I practiced my testimonials quite a bit. I've written them out, I've typed them out, I've practiced them. And I practice them because I want them to have the impact for the listener. I want them to be able to take that away and not have a lot of extraneous stuff. So it's really a way that we can love and respect others. The other thing is, what we really want to do is, we were really looking at being able to shorten our GIA overview Zooms so that people can watch them in a shorter period of time. Currently, they're running about 45 minutes. And we've had requests, hey, if we could get them down to more like 30 minutes or so, then that would be better, because it's easier for somebody to take that time, just say 30 minutes, to be able to watch the GIA overview Zoom and get the whole GIA story. So that's one of the reasons why we want to do it. Anything else? Anyone else want to talk, comment, say anything?
Quick comment. Sue, can you stop sharing your screen so we can get it big, see the faces again? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Great, thank you. An excellent point about the record your voice. Thank you for that. I'd forgotten all about that. Excellent.
So thanks, Sue. That's great. And I want to just say that one of the things that the power of your story is so amazing. And the more you tell it, the more you own it. And the more it feels so real to the next person. And sharing them on a three-way call, and also having such a repertoire, you know that you can come up with someone else's story, if it's not yours, that can fit what someone new or a prospect needs to hear. And so that's really just another little piece that I wanted to share.
Sue, I'd love to comment on that, because Sue just brought up really, really key. At GIA, we're really about loving people and serving them. And how can we serve them best? And we're really able to create that encyclopedia or repertoire of stories if we've heard them and we've really gotten the kind of short nugget. And the key thing is then when we're out there listening for what people need, a beautiful thing is to have this bank of stories. And let's say we're at a networking event, or let's say we're at a presentation, and we're maybe talking before the presentation happens, and somebody shares, whatever that is, whatever issue is. Isn't it cool to say, you know what? I just heard you mention about XYZ. I have a friend in GIA Wellness who had this happen, and who has a story, that and shares some hope and inspiration for that person. What it does is it demonstrates to them, number one, that you're listening, so you're present. One of our greatest gifts. I don't know if anyone's following on Facebook right now, Linda's 10 days of the 10 greatest gifts. but really listening is one. But really to have something in your bank so that they know not only are you listening to them, but you care about them enough and you've got an answer for them in an inspiring story. You can even say, hey, I might be able to connect you to this person. You might be able to hear a little bit. And then they feel, we're talking about, John or Linda Cormier talks about it. John talks about it. Really what we're doing is we're listening to a story, we're sharing a story, and we're building a story together. So, okay. Anything else? Well, I think we're right at just about 7:30. Is anybody have anything else they want to share before
Yeah,
we
I'd love to. You
sign
can't.
off? I think we will make it a little short.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hey, hi, Kenzie. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I bet you couldn't see me because I was about to jump in. Anyway, good evening. I wanted to say that, with the loving and serving people, our empathy and compassion can be, would be, should be, could be at an all-time high, which induces a lot of intuitiveness. And so, if people if they collect the stories and then you're feeling that empathy and compassion, those stories are going to naturally come out. You won't even, people worry, oh, how am I going to remember, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to think like that. You just download them inside into your heart and they come out at the perfect time. So, and practice makes perfect, of course, but you're not going to just say, oh, I have to practice that story. Well, you might until you get it. But if you're plugged in and you're really, wanting to have those within you and you start using them, I can't tell you, Sue Gronberg told a story on one Friday shouted out call that it's been years now. And that story comes up so easily, so willingly because of my passion around the harmonizer in so many situations, the home harmonizer, the story about the children and the school and the teacher and the kids and all that. It just pours out just at the right moments. And that has made not only sales in the moment, but has tipped people over because it automatically activates their heart talking about children. And so, and I don't do it for that reason. It just happens to come out that way. But I think if we are plugged into our empathy and compassion and learning those stories, learning our Gia language, those stories will just be around in our field, accessible all the time.
Kenzie, you make a great point. And one of the things I want to say about that too that's so beautiful about our stories is when we share something like, Dawn is a musician, a drummer, and a landscape contractor. When you meet another guy, outdoorsy guy, you can share the story of, I have a friend, or I've got somebody into you who's a landscape contractor and musician. So you want to, wherever you can connect. Tracy Hillis, we have 5 businesses. We're spinning 5 plates. I wanted to get my husband off of the hot tin roof, because they have a roofing company. So, and very, very involved in church. So we really also, part of our stories is really who we are. Terry Velasco is a nurse. She was electro-hypersensitive and thought she was going to have to quit her job. So those are parts too that we can remember and connect. I did just see on the chat there was somebody who was asking about skin eruptions. And one of my favorites is, I had a stay-at-home mom in New Jersey, a homeschooling mom, who had a 15-year-old son with literally pizza face acne. And so the family started drinking the water. She started feeding this to her son. And within 3 weeks, his skin was absolutely transformed. And so it actually affected it gave him a more positive self-image. He was more self-confident. And what this did for the mom is it actually excited her so much. She started sharing Gia and created quite an income. She went director and did a whole bunch of stuff with Gia. So, and shared in the Korean community, spread it around, literally around the country. So anyway, that's a skin eruption one that also shares a little bit about the Gia income. I've seen that in many cases. I've seen that with my kids as well too, drinking and spraying the water. And skin eruptions of any kind we've heard of other sort of allergic reactions, any histamine type reaction, things like that too. The water is amazing at calming those things. So anybody else? Well, I know I said a medical term. I think you can say acne. You can say he had pimples and the pimples went away. I think you can do that. Okay, well, with that, should we go ahead and close for the evening, or does anyone have questions or any last thing? I think I caught all the chats. Is there anything else?
Ming?
So Wednesday night is a replay of Alfred Hanser's ERT webinar, and we can invite people to that as an event. One of the things about live events are that they create some urgency and excitement. It gives us a reason to reach out to people who are in the process or people we want to invite to take a look at GIA, to actually create some urgency around a very special event that's going to benefit them to participate in or to hear. Who was that? I'm sorry, I kind of talked over someone.
Nope, not at all, Ming. I was just going to do a gentle reminder for you to mention it. Thank you.
Great. Okay, everybody, with that, gosh, let's go for it. Any more announcements, Sue Johnson?
Just a reminder to everybody of the kickoff the week call, or kickoff the month call for March is this Friday, and that's at 5 p.m. Pacific time, not at the usual 6 o'clock time we're used to. So keeping that in mind, and of course our morning calls are in place. And the Zoom number for Wednesday night, John will be posting, so keep an eye for that on on the Facebook pages. And the promotions, of course, expire Thursday at midnight. The amazing, wonderful, who can keep track of them all, wonderful promotions we have running right now, my friends. It's fantastic. So any questions, call your upline leader or touch base with the office, of course.
Midnight Pacific. Just want to say that.
Oh, midnight Pacific always, yeah. Or not all, whenever they say it, so.
New people
Okay,
just don't know.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, everyone. Well, good night. Have a great week. Finish strong. Take a look at your organizations and find out where people are, and make sure that those who are close to manager qualify as managers, or those who are going for junior director do that. People who are, whatever they're trying to do, anybody who's looking to upgrade and they're still in the first 30 days. So definitely look at those things, and definitely keep working on Abundance Club. Whatever you do this month is going to leverage and compress and compound and be of great value as things are rolled out in the coming months. So with that, good night. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Ming.
Bye-bye.